Welcome back to EndZoneBlog.com's Across the Middle Show. I'm your host, John Kuzma. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do another episode of the Across the Middle Show. I love doing this podcast because it's a great way to kind of recap what is happening around the National Football League. And it was another exciting weekend. You know, Jonathan Taylor really took over for the Indianapolis Colts. It's amazing what he's doing there for the Colts just because, you know, he's doing it right out of the gate. You know, there's no learning curve. He steps right in and just kind of dominates at the National Football League level, you know, and this isn't college anymore. You know, we've seen, you know, Marshall Faulk score 7 touchdowns at San Diego State. You know, we've seen Darren Sproles dominate at Kansas State. And, you know, that happens in college because those guys are so much better than everybody else. But it's hard to do that in the NFL. But Jonathan Taylor scores 5 touchdowns against the Buffalo Bills, puts the Bills in their place. And remember, this team lost to the Bills in the playoffs last year, and it was really close. You know, Phillip Rivers was the quarterback at the time. He took the Bills down to the wire. The Bills ended up winning, but obviously it's a good sign for the Colts now that they beat the Bills because these two teams could easily run into each other again in the playoffs. And, you know, you have Jonathan Taylor there that is making a run to be the best running back in the NFL. You know, when Derrick Henry gets back from his foot injury, he might have a little competition, but, you know, it's more than likely, you know, Henry will be number 1, Jonathan Taylor will be number 2, or somewhere in there. You know, Nick Chubb's in there too. But the fact that Jonathan Taylor is closing the gap on Derrick Henry says so much about who he is as a player. Just an electric guy, making a lot of plays. You know, he can break off, you know, those gashes up the middle, just gash defenses over and over and over again throughout the game, where you can just feel the momentum swinging in the Colts' favor because Jonathan Taylor is just making the most out of every handoff that he gets, just licking his chops, waiting for the next one just because he knows, hey, you guys can't stop me. You know, I was born for this. I've been, you know, developing myself my whole entire life for this moment. That's Jonathan Taylor in a nutshell. It's amazing. It's amazing that he's doing this, you know, because Derrick Henry took a little while before he dominated in the National Football League. Let's not forget that. Henry was a big guy, but he kind of had to adjust to the speed of the game. You know, Jonathan Taylor is really taking over right out of the gate. With him, he's just so explosive. A bigger running back, explosive, powerful guy. We saw him even catch the football on one play. He makes a guy miss, gets down to the goal line, makes another guy miss. I mean, the guy can do everything. He's an all-around complete running back. And when you have a guy that is on the cusp of being the best running back in the NFL, I mean, that's a huge benefit for your team because he props the rest of the guys up. You know, Derrick Henry props up Ryan Tannehill with the Titans. You know, Jonathan Taylor, if he keeps playing like this, is going to prop up Carson Wentz a little bit with the Colts. And here's the thing. Carson Wentz is playing a lot better than people are giving him credit for. He's actually playing pretty good. I know he has some boneheaded moments, but he's been a lot better than people are actually saying. They're kind of going with that narrative that he's just garbage because of what happened in Philadelphia. And there's no denying last year that Carson Wentz wasn't good enough in Philadelphia. He flamed out. He let the pressure of Jalen Hurts get to him. And, you know, that's why he's not with the Eagles anymore, and now he's with the Colts. But he's really making the most out of this opportunity with the Colts. Frank Reich, you know, had him playing at an MVP caliber level with the Colts. Now Carson Wentz is starting to resemble that player. Not quite an MVP guy yet, but one of the better quarterbacks in the league. So he's made huge strides with the Colts. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor propping him up a little bit. They got a lot of other good running backs on that team too. Nyheim Hines, Marlon Mack. So they're just deep. But that says something about Jonathan Taylor too, because we're seeing less of Hines. Mack basically disappeared. We don't even see him anymore. And he was a really good player, which is surprising. If I'm the Colts, I probably would have traded Marlon Mack and tried to get at least, a 5th-round pick, because he was really playing well before this team drafted Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor took things over. But, the Colts want depth at running back. They know you're only a couple injuries away from really being in trouble. Look at what happened to the Cleveland Browns at running back. Chubb was hurt. Hunt was out. And then they had to really, go to their death, guys like D'Ernest Johnson. So I think that's what's happening with the Colts and all their running backs. But Jonathan Taylor has been great, closing the gap on Derrick Henry to be the best running back in the NFL. Obviously, Henry's still the best, will be the best when he gets back from his injury, his foot injury. But give Jonathan Taylor some credit. He is, climbing the running back rankings because he's getting it done on the field. Continuing on. Jalen Hurts, man. How about Jalen Hurts? At this point, I think Jalen Hurts is a better fit for the NFL than Tua Tagovailoa. And I know that's controversial to a lot of people. Believe me, I'm hearing it all over social media. They are not happy with me. I promise you guys that. They are not happy with me for giving this take, especially on YouTube. But it's true. Jalen Hurts has shown me more in these last 5 games than I've seen from Tua Tagovailoa in his whole entire professional career. He hasn't shown me that much with the Dolphins. I mean, last year, when he took over for Ryan Fitzpatrick, good run, but what happened at the end of that run? Got rescued by Ryan Fitzpatrick. Jalen Hurts isn't getting rescued. He's out there rescuing the team. I mean, it's so easy to see. I've seen more from Jalen Hurts already than I've seen from Tua, and I don't care if that's controversial. To me, that's the truth. And anyone else that just wants to be a Tua fanboy, I mean, I get it that you love what he did at Alabama. Maybe you're from Alabama or a Crimson Tide alum, but you can't sit here with a straight face and tell me he's done more than Jalen Hurts has done. Look what Jalen Hurts is doing for the Eagles. That team should be dead in the water, but because of Jalen Hurts' leadership, they're emerging in the NFC East. You don't think his leadership and the way he conducts himself is playing a big part of that? Because I promise you it is. And let's not forget, Tua Tagovailoa took Jalen Hurts' job at Alabama. And I don't think anybody could have handled that better than Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts kept his head high. He never got down on himself. He went to Oklahoma, and he made the most out of his time in Oklahoma. And now there's no doubt that Hurts' time with the Sooners is helping him now with the Eagles. There's no doubt that Heisman candidate campaign, he didn't win it, but he was a candidate for the Heisman. There's no doubt that time with the Sooners is helping him now with the Eagles. There's no doubt about it. And it's all a part of the plan. It's all a part of the journey. It wasn't a part of the plan, but it was a part of the journey. He took it in stride. He made the most of it, and he got better. Every single chance he had to get better, Hurts took it, and now look at him. It all added up because now he's a better fit for the NFL than Tua Tagovailoa is. And the Eagles are winning. And, I know Miami is just starting to get back on track, but it's also Jalen Hurts' ability to run the football. You see guys like Lamar Jackson and Cam Newton who not only throw for touchdowns, they run for touchdowns too. Jalen Hurts has a little bit of that in his game. And because of that, he's going to make more plays in the NFL. You know, he can extend the play. He can create a little bit of magic. Tua isn't quite as mobile, and Tua is also a left-handed quarterback, which no one talks about. Left-handed quarterbacks have went extinct in the NFL for a reason. So that's just my take on it. You know, a lot really going on in the NFL right now. Some great storylines. Jonathan Taylor becoming one of the better running backs in the NFL. Obviously, one big storyline. Jalen Hurts turning around the Eagles. Another big storyline. I'm John Kuzma. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of EndZoneBlog.com's Across the Middle show. Thank you. I'm signing off.